Chapter 5, Witchcraft and Paganism, from the book The Ancient and Shining Ones. There is a difference between witchcraft and paganism, although many of the basic beliefs are the same. Witchcraft, or the craft, as many call it, is primarily a goddess-based nature religion with a dual deity foundation. Paganism believes in pantheons or pluralities of deities, with a god or goddess predominating according to the system and worshippers. Witchcraft almost always does its rituals and spell workings within a caste circle. Paganism sometimes does, sometimes does not, depending upon the group. Witchcraft, or Wicca, if you prefer a more acceptable name, is both a religion and a magical system. However, it is also a way of life, of looking at everything around you. The word Wicca or witch comes from the Anglo-Saxon language and means wise one. Originally, the word for a male witch was Wicca and a female Wicci, with the plural being Wiccan. Today, however, the common word for both sexes is Wicca. Some witches resist using the word Wicca, saying it only bows to orthodox demands for acceptability. The best statement I have heard on this subject comes from the song Witch by Lady Isadora. I call myself a witch because a witch is what I am. And like a Jew in Nazi Germany, I don't define my name to suit the master plan. I don't believe in Satan, he's a poor excuse for Pan. I'm a child of Holy Mother Earth, and I'm gonna stand up to the propaganda man in every way I can. The word pagan comes from the Latin paganus, meaning country dweller. After Christianity began its militant takeover, pagan and heathen became derogatory terms. The Christians really meant that they cannot influence the country dwellers and people from the heath except by physical force. Therefore, those people must be backwards and more than a little stupid. In fact, just the opposite was true. The pagans and heathens were extremely wise to the Christian takeover and wanted no part of being controlled and ordered around. The pagan healers and wise people were a real threat to the Christian church. First, because they were better at their chosen tasks of healing and divination than the Christian priests, helping for free or small donations when these priests demanded conversion to their way of religion and as much money as they could get. Second, a great many of these pagans were priestesses, something abhorrent to the Christians who believed that only their male priests had power and could communicate with God. Third, these healers and wise people clearly saw the dangers of Christianity, and until severe persecutions got underway, did not hesitate to point this out to the less educated commoners. Paganism also tends to be a nature-oriented religion, again dependent upon the group practicing the rituals. It is based upon an ancient pantheon such as Norse, Celtic, Roman, etc. There is usually no claim that they are practicing real ancient rituals. Historical details are for the most part too sketchy to make such claims. Most of the pagan groups write their rituals and spell workings with the flavor of the selected pantheon, incorporating some aspects of both witchcraft and ceremonial magic. This does not make the rituals any less effective or powerful, in my opinion. It strengthens them. To be technically correct, I suppose one should say that practitioners of this craft and paganism today should be called neo-witches and neo-pagans, as they do not worship exactly as was done in the past. However, I have never met a witch or pagan who really cared about the technicality of being semantically correct. Witches and pagans are individualists who do their own thing and leave others to do theirs. Witches and pagans are practical people who seek hidden powers and knowledge, and usually do not conform, at least inwardly, to society's so-called acceptable molds. They have close ties with nature and all other beings, living their lives with respect for other humans, animals, plants, and the earth herself. There are certain observances and beliefs that all Wiccan individuals and groups hold to be true, regardless of the deity names they choose to use. Witches believe in a main goddess, the lady, and a main god, the lord, with the goddess having primary importance. For example, the male and female aspects of nature were personified by the Celts as the white moon goddess and the horned god. The white moon goddess and her consort, the horned god, are the oldest known deities. This is the basic idea still held by witches, although they sometimes petition various aspects of each of these main deities, just as the Celtics did. Witches believe that all gods are one god, all goddesses are one goddess, and both are united. The goddess is worshipped as a triple deity, maiden, mother, and crone. Dark mother, wise woman, the hag. The god also is often seen in three aspects: son, lover, and sacrifice, or lord of death. The maiden is essential to the continuation of all life. Her color is white, denoting innocence and newness. She is the springtime, the dawn, eternal youth and vigor, enchantment and seduction, the waxing moon. The mother is the ripeness of womanhood. Her color is red, the color of blood and the life force. The mother is summer, the day, lustiness, teacher, the full moon. The crone or dark mother, sometimes called the hag, has black as her color, the color of darkness where all life rests before birth. This aspect of the goddess is winter, night, wisdom, counsel, the gateway to death and reincarnation, the waning moon. Neither witches nor pagans have anything to do with Satan or the Christian devil. First of all, they do not believe in the devil. They do, however, believe there are evil spirits. Second, you have to be a Christian or believe in their tenets to be a Satanist, as Satanist ceremonies are a negative parody of Christian ceremonies. Witches and pagans believe that this world is only part of reality, that divinity is both male and female. They say humans have more than 5 senses and that they can be trained to be aware of the other worlds. The concept of the ultimate creative force, or God behind the gods, is the inexplicable life force of the universe. The pagans, pantheons of gods and goddesses who rule over different parts of nature and help in the evolution of the universe, are merely different aspects of this life force. The craft uses certain symbols with a magical significance, such as the pentagram. They observe moon phases in connection with spell working. They believe that powerful witches of the past are still able to help those practicing the craft today, and they believe in magic and its powers. Most pagans and witches believe in reincarnation and the destiny of karma. They say it is logical to believe in reincarnation rather than obliteration at death, because, as modern science tells us, nothing in this universe can be destroyed. It only changes its form. Karma, which is deeply involved in reincarnation, means simply that every action causes an equalizing reaction. It is not necessarily punishment. Between incarnations, the soul is said to rest in a pagan paradise called by various names. The statement that this afterlife land coexists with our own identifies it with the astral plane. Both witches and pagans believe in this other world or plane of existence that is made up of spirits, both human and elemental. The ceremonial magician and shaman share this belief in the astral plane. This other world plane is made up of a different type of energy that vibrates at a higher rate than the physical world. At the same time, the astral plane and this world surround and interpenetrate each other. The astral plane is very responsive to thoughts and emotions. The soul of nature spirits, animals, and beings created by man strongly projected human thoughts dwell on certain areas of this plane. Part of this world is the world of ghosts, or earthbound human spirits. It is also the place where one can meet other astral travelers. The human astral body, which survives after death, is how humans function in the astral world. While still in this world, it is said that a person can travel on the astral during sleep or by deliberate out-of-body methods. This is the reality behind the old stories of witches flying. Higher levels of the astral plane contain departed higher souls, while the lower levels are inhabited by spiritual darkness and lower souls. The words higher and lower have nothing to do with the social classes, outward appearance while on earth, or the amount of time a person spent in worship. Rather, these terms indicate areas of existence inhabited by evolved or devolved souls. Witches know that what appear to be opposites of matter, form, energy, and force are not really opposing at all. They are simply different manifestations of each other. Witches celebrate 8 yearly festivals at each full moon. There are 8 traditional Wiccan holy days. The 4 greater Sabbaths are Imbolc, Beltan, Lunasa, and Samhain. The 4 lesser Sabbats are spring equinox, summer solstice, autumn equinox, and winter solstice. At the equinoxes, the flow of power is strong, while the tides of the solstices are quieter. The wheel is the symbol of the year, with the solstices and equinoxes as the main spokes, and the remaining 4 holy days as additional spokes. Monthly Wiccan meetings are held at or near the full moon, as the full moon is the high point of psychic power. Imbol, February 2, is a time of cleansing and newborn lambs. The name Imbol comes from the word Olmec, or sheep's milk. It is a festival of the maiden in preparation for growth and renewal. Spring equinox, about March 21st, is when light and darkness are in balance, but the light is growing stronger. Beltan is May 1st. Some of the other names for it are May Day or Lady Day. It is primarily a fertility festival. The powers of elves and fairies are growing and will reach their height at summer solstice. Summer solstice, about June 21st, is when the hours of the daylight are longest. The sun is at the highest before beginning to slide into darkness. Traditionally, herbs gathered on this day are very powerful. On this night, elves and fairies abound in number. Lunasa is August 1st. It is pre-harvest festival, the turning point in Mother Earth's year. The last herbs are gathered. Autumn equinox, about September 21st, was a time of rest after labor, completion of the harvest. Again, the hours of day and night are in balance, with the darkness increasing. Samhain, pronounced Samhain, and called Halloween today, was also known as Ancestor Night or Feast of the Dead. Because the veil between the worlds is thinnest on this night, it was and is considered an excellent time for divination. Feasts are made in remembrance of dead ancestors and as an affirmation of continuing life. Many Northern European cultures counted Samhain as the beginning of the year. Winter solstice occurs about December 21st. This is the time of death and rebirth of the sun god. The days are shortest, the sun at its lowest point. The full moon after Yule is considered the most powerful of the whole year. Other pagans celebrate many of the same festivals with additional holy days, depending upon the pantheons and magical systems they follow. The 8 holy days of the witches appear to be European in basis, but nearly every magical system and religion around the world noted and celebrated the solstices and equinoxes. Many of the pagan years were based on lunar months, thus having 13 months to a year. Celebration of the solstices and equinoxes was and is done on a particular day when the sun changes in particular zodiac signs. This is listed on most calendars. especially the astrological ones, such as published by Llewellyn, and vary slightly from year to year. The remaining 6 holy days are honored by many Wiccans on a specific day also. Most of the ancient pagan world counted days as starting at sunset or midnight. All their festivals were celebrated on the eve or night before the holy day. Therefore, summer solstice was celebrated on Midsummer's Eve, and so on. Witches, ceremonial magicians, and many pagans begin their ceremonies by casting a circle about the area or room where they are planning to do magical work. To most cultures, the circle is a symbol of infinity and eternity. It has no beginning and no end. When properly drawn, with the candles of the elements at the 4 directions and the altars in the center, the circle becomes a mandala, or sacred symbol, upon which the magician stands. The circle is drawn by the dagger or sword as protection against potentially dangerous forces or spirits. It also concentrates the cone of power that is raised within its boundaries. This cone of power, seen by outsiders, is most likely what brought about the idea of witches or magicians wearing pointed hats. A properly drawn circle becomes an invisible boundary, having power in this and other realms. The energy of that boundary keeps out negative influences and contains the power raised until the practitioner is ready to release it. The circle is also a neutral working area, capable of regenerating and amplifying the kind of power the magician is creating. In witchcraft, it is traditional to draw or cast a circle with a 9-foot circumference. However, if the coven or group of witches is large, this size circle is very crowded. It is not essential that the circle be a certain size. The concentration and visualization used during the casting determines the value of the circle. The magic circle is an imaginary boundary to the physical eye, but when properly drawn, has great power in both this world and other realms. Once drawn, practitioners usually do not cross the boundary until the ritual is finished. Cats, however, have the unusual ability of being able to cross the cast circle without disturbing the power flow. Casting a proper circle requires concentrated visualization of silvery blue light issuing from the dagger or sword and rising from the imaginary line. This line is begun in the east and drawn sunwise around the area, ending and overlapping in the east. Following the casting of the circle, the perimeter is sprinkled with consecrated salt and water, then cleansed with smoking incense. The 4 element candles are lit, and the rulers of the elements call upon for protection and assistance. At the appropriate point in the ceremony, a cup of wine is blessed and dedicated to the gods, then shared by the participants. When the ceremony and any spell working are completed, the elements are dismissed and the circle ritually broken. The pentagram, a 5-pointed star, is an ancient symbol. Its 5 points represent the 4 elements plus spirit. One can see it in mundane places, such as police badges and the top of Christmas trees, although the Christians now have declared a spiritual war on it. It was and is a favorite symbol of witches and magicians, as it also represents the 5 elements within humankind. The head corresponding to the top point, the arms to the 2 side points, and the legs to the 2 bottom points. The Satanists in the USA, who seem to try to corrupt spiritual symbols, use the pentagram turned upside down. Sometimes the pentagram is called a pentacle, although that word now means any disc of metal or wood that is engraved with the pentagram and other magical symbols. The disc is placed on a witch's altar as a power point for consecrating objects, such as water, wine, or ritual tools. The use of certain gestures and words when performed in a specific way with candles, herbs, or other magical equipment is known as spell work or spelling. Spell work was and is an important part of all pagan religions. Pagans believe in actively participating in the unfolding of opportunity and development in their lives. They believe that it is their right to confidently petition their deities for what they want. Furthermore, they believe it is their responsibility to do whatever they personally can to aid in gaining their desires. To do this, all pagans engage in a form of spell working. Spell work is a type of magic, the drawing down of energy from another plane of existence. This energy is woven into a specific physical form or result by the use of certain words, gestures, thoughts, and practices. Be aware that if you use magic or spell work to interfere with another's free will, you involve yourself with that person's karma, whether positive or negative. Witches and most pagans use invoking magic for their rites. Certain archetypes are asked to enter the magical circle and sometimes into the high priest and high priestess. It is a spiritually uplifting experience to feel the archetypal power build up during a ritual. And when the powers are released at the end of the ceremony, there is a void, exhausting yet fulfilling at the same time. Witches and pagans are not evil. They do not practice blood sacrifices, torture, or other despicable acts. They do not go about casting curses on people for infractions of courtesy. However, they also are not doormats and will protect themselves from persecution in whatever manner is necessary. Of course, someone is bound to point out an exception to this description of witches and pagans. The key word here is exception. Everyone is probably aware that a few years ago, a group of Christians were shown on television praying for the death of a Supreme Court judge who did not rule to their liking. The Christians would say that this was an exception to what they actually practice. The followers of witchcraft and paganism are individuals following a personalized spiritual path that is right for them. They tend to be tolerant of others who follow dissimilar paths, but with the same goal, to bring the human soul as close to the ultimate creating force as possible. They believe strongly in free will, the freedom to worship in the manner that each chooses, and they continue to work for every person's right to those freedoms. The history of paganism and witchcraft is an ancient one, going back to the beginning of humankind's searching for divine fulfillment. The methods of worship in witchcraft and paganism have been updated to suit the modern individual, but the intent and purpose remain the same.